John, it's great to have you here. Thanks so much for joining
us.
Tell us about your role at Group M. It's kind of a unique one.
Yeah, well, I got this new job in September. Before this, I ran digital for North America and the operations around digital for North America. And it became clear that we needed to create some sort of a practice to mitigate risks for our brands.
What's the delta between what clients perceive as the risks and what's really happening out there?
Reputational risks are emotional, which is why they're so difficult. On February the 9th, certainly my life changed, where the headline in the London Times, which is probably the most venerable and oldest newspaper and well-respected newspaper in the world, ran a headline that said, "Big brands fund terror." As you well know, the way this works is we don't place an ad on a website, we place an ad to follow John Montgomery, who might be a banking prospect. If John Montgomery might be on an inappropriate site, whether it's an adult site or an extreme political site, I'm going to get that ad unless we stop it from happening. The perceived and real is there, but it doesn't really matter because perceived is real when it ends up on the front page of the London Times.
So interesting. And when you speak to brands around the country and around the world, what are some of their big concerns?
Yeah, I think it's become such a complex area. So if you put yourself in the client's shoes, and maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, they said, well, it's great, this, digital is growing and we've got all these wonderful things. And then they heard about fraud. They said, wow, and then of course the numbers around 40 to 50% fraud, and does that affect me? Does it not affect me? So we started getting calls on fraud. Then we started getting calls about contextual brand safety. Then it was about ad blocking. And then we got these calls to say, do you mean to tell me that only 50% of my ads are actually viewable? So it was, viewability on top of contextual brand safety, on top of ad blocking, on top of fraud, not necessarily in that order. And so sometimes the clients are feeling a little, overwhelmed, and one might almost excuse them to say, you know what, if I put $1 million on television, I may not know exactly who views every single TV spot, but I do know what happens at the till, and because they've built, kind of very, very sophisticated models to say, if I spend $1 million here, this is what happens to my brand lift, and this is what happens in store.
It's the devil you know.
And yeah, it's exactly the devil you know. There are a number of our clients who have come with us from the beginning in terms of buying quality inventory. And I think that we have been able to manage brand safety to a really good degree, but we obsessively measure and we use technology to understand what our viewability is, where our ads are. So you want to make sure that you've got keyword and keyword blocking. You want to make sure that you've got the best fraud technology. And yes, these things do cost extra. There's a 10% or a 25% premium, but probably the best money that they could spend to make sure that you can move viewability up from 50% to 60%. But I think you asked earlier on what CMOs ask us about and what they're worried about. They're also very worried about not being able to do third-party measurement with some of the large walled gardens. And although both Facebook and Google have got sophisticated brand safety technology of their own, we would feel much more comfortable if we had the entire industry looking after it rather than Facebook and Google and Snapchat and Twitter looking after just their own stuff. So we're getting there, we're discussing it with them, but there is a big concern around that, and I think it's a chink in our brand safety armor, if you like, and it's something that we'd love to get resolved.
John, it has been such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for all those insights.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.